Hey everyone, welcome to this explainer. Look, if you've been paying even a tiny bit of attention to the tech world lately, you've probably felt it, right? That totally dizzying, almost breathless feeling that artificial intelligence is just evolving way faster than our human brains can even process. We are literally witnessing an exponential acceleration in AI development, and it's rewriting the rules of what's possible on basically a weekly basis at this point. So today, we are going to break down the hard data behind this incredible speed, look at the staggering real-world implications, and really dig into how this fundamental shift is going to transform every single one of us. We're going from being just passive consumers of technology to completely empowered, frictionless makers. Let's get into it.
All right, let's just jump right into the data here because these numbers are actually kind of mind-blowing. If we look at the frequency of these massive frontier AI model releases, we're seeing this crazy compression in the timeline. Back in 2024, we were seeing a major release roughly once every 60 days. Fast forward to the early 2025 estimates, and that gap tightened up to about once every 50 days. But, and this is the wild part, notice the dramatic shift that happened next. Since mid-April alone, the industry has launched 13 new frontier models. That averages out to one massive, groundbreaking release every 10 days. So the technology isn't just getting better. The actual rate at which it gets better is accelerating at breakneck speed.
And that brings us to this wildly important number one. The source material takes all that release data we just talked about and applies an exponential regression curve to it. And guys, if you project this trend forward, the math points to a seriously staggering milestone. By January, we are on track to see exactly one new frontier model released every single day. One a day. Think about that. At that point, our traditional concept of a new release just completely breaks down. We move into this era of continuous versioning. It's like these updates will just happen silently in the background of our lives, and the core intelligence of these systems is just going to continuously tick upward. To really wrap our heads around the insane scale and efficiency of these updates, we can look at a recent tweet from Elon Musk that the source data highlights. He stated that their massive 2 trillion parameter model, Grok 4.5, would finish its initial training in just a week. A week. And he boasted that it's better than their 1.5 trillion model in literally every single way, matching the speed and token efficiency of much smaller models. We just aren't talking about years of development for massive leaps in capability anymore. We are talking about days.
So what does this all mean? Well, it means we're no longer just waiting around for the future. We really need to talk about the singularity. Now, traditionally, you hear that word and think of some far-off sci-fi future point where technological growth just becomes completely uncontrollable and irreversible. But based on the sheer speed at which this intelligence is compounding right now, the source material argues that this data is the #1 piece of evidence that we are living inside the singularity right this very minute. Pretty soon, we won't even notice the individual leaps in tech. Like a kid rolling their eyes at yet another software update on their phone, this god-tier intelligence will just seamlessly integrate into our background reality.
Section 1. The Frictionless Creator.
Okay, so we've looked at the macro data of how fast AI is moving, but what are the practical, everyday implications of this speed? Especially when we shift our focus to people who actually want to build and create things. We are now seeing people use models like Claude 3 to essentially prompt highly complex software into existence on the very first try. The tech world calls this one-shotting. The source notes some incredibly wild examples of this, like a browser-based web app flawlessly simulating an entire Apple desktop, or users instantly coding fully functional video games from scratch. The friction of getting a project launched, of taking an idea out of your brain and actually putting it into the world, has dropped to near absolute zero.
But, and this is a huge but, the source material offers a very crucial warning here that we absolutely have to pay attention to. While generating the raw code to build a game or an app is completely frictionless now, building a successful business around that app certainly is not. You still have to build the whole surrounding ecosystem. You have to handle customer service, execute a real marketing strategy, all of that. Because the barrier to creating the product is now zero, succeeding in the market still absolutely requires deep, genuine passion and commitment to the specific domain you're working in.
Section 2. Consumer versus Maker.
And this brings us to a really profound turning point. As we shift from a world of scarcity to a world of absolute, abundant intelligence, human identity itself is going to have to change. We have to completely rethink our relationship with technology. Because for decades, the vast majority of us have been trapped in this consumer mindset, right? We've basically been takers. We sit around and we wait for companies to build software, games, and tools, and then we just use them. But the barrier to becoming a maker has now completely vanished. The mental shift we all need to make right now is moving from passively consuming technology to actively building it. It's honestly an incredibly magical time to be alive, but it does require a complete rewiring of how we view our own potential.
Think about it like this.
If the ability to write code is no longer a scarce resource, what actually holds value? What's the new gold? Well, the source material makes a really compelling case that human taste, boundless imagination, and a deep, empathetic understanding of what the public actually desires, those are the new premium skills. When you are fully unleashed in what you can make, the only real limitation left is your own entrepreneurial mindset and your ability to imagine something greater than what already exists.
There's this one quote from the original discussion that just hits so hard. We are godlike in our abilities. It sounds awesome, right? But surprisingly, the source notes this realization is actually incredibly mentally taxing. Imagine sitting in a corporate executive meeting, or honestly just sitting at your desk at home, knowing you can one-shot prompt literally anything into existence. We aren't used to having infinite choices. It forces us to really stretch our brains and ask fundamental existential questions, like, what is the actual purpose of our organization? Or, given infinite choices, how do I actually manage my own happiness without the usual daily obstacles of my job holding me back?
Section 3. Finding your purpose. Which leads us to the ultimate takeaway in this explainer. How exactly do you navigate an era of absolute, unbridled abundance? When you can build anything effortlessly, how do you discover what truly matters to you? Well, it comes down to understanding this one key distinction. A passion is simply something you love doing. But a massive transformative purpose, an MTP, is something you love doing that actually scales up to benefit the world. When the source material discusses this, they point to the really obvious, universal desires first, like huge advancements in medicine and biotech, simply because we all want humanity to be healthy. Finding your MTP is all about connecting your newly unleashed capabilities to a mission that improves humanity at an awesome scale.
And I really want to empower you with this singular, totally liberating fact straight from the source data. You do not need a computer science background anymore. Period. You do not need to be a technical expert to make a massive dent in the universe. In the face of this insanely accelerating AI curve, you basically have two choices: fear or an abundance mindset. If you can just reject the fear and realize your creativity has just been completely unleashed, all you have to do is be purpose-driven. The AI will handle the rest.
So we're going to leave you with a pretty powerful question today. The source material actually casually jokes about using these new tools to build a non-violent, civilization-style tech tree game just for fun, literally just because they can. Your creativity is now fully unleashed. The friction is completely gone. The tools you have access to are essentially magic. So given absolute choice and zero friction, what will you choose to create for the world? Thanks so much for joining us on this explainer, and we'll see you next time.